Yo, what's up viewers, it's your boy Blaze Hall coming at you again with another What If. This time I'll bring you What If Deku Had All for One Part 6. But before I get into all that, I want to bring out a couple announcements, which is I'll be actually starting to do a couple of different series here. I will definitely continue to do the ones I have been doing so far, so don't worry, none of your favorites will be leaving the channel. I'm just doing this so my mind has variety on things that I want to do instead of just focusing on one story. So I hope you all understand that there will not always be just a spam of the same series over and over. There will definitely be different parts being shown every now and again. And if you're worried that none of the series will actually be finished, know that here on Blessed Heroes we live by one rule and one rule only. As soon as you start a series, you have to finish it. Well, with that announcement out of the way, let's get into the story. Start that intro.
I honestly don't think you can become a hero.
Alright, everybody, quick recap. Last time we left off, Izuku was actually taken to the hospital, but was then transformed into this Nomu-like state because of the emotional trauma that he's been going through, so he started to destroy the hospital trying to find his friends. That's when Endeavor showed up and actually was able to calm him down and take him home with him to meet his family and get him fixed up. Now, with that out of the way, let's get into the actual story. Izuku opened his eyes to see that he was in a black void, not knowing what this place was actually. He was cold and full of despair, but with a few seconds he could hear the sound of someone pouring out a cup of tea. He then turned around to see All For One sitting in a chair with a coffee table right in front of him, with a cup of hot tea ready for Izuku. All For One finally looks up, smiling at his successor. I was wondering when you would finally come here. Pull up a seat, we have a lot to discuss. Izuku floated over to a chair that appeared right in front of him as he sat down. Where are we? And what is this place? All For One just chuckled in amusement. Are you sure you don't know this place? You have to think about it. I'm dead, so I can't be speaking to you under normal circumstances. Izuku's eyes shot open, ready to freak out. Oh my god, did I die? Are you here to lead me to the other side? Oh my god, I failed you. I'm so sorry. All For One takes a quick sip of his tea as he watches his successor freak out a little bit. Calm down, you're not going to die, trust me on that. Izuku started to calm down, happy knowing that he isn't dead. Then where are we exactly, Sensei? All For One just sat back in his chair ready to give a very long explanation. We're in your mindscape. This is where your subconscious has decided to take you since your body is still recovering and fixing itself. I'm here because when I transferred my quirk to you, I was able to put my subconscious inside of yours to help guide you to the future, or at least give you advice on what you might need. Izuku just nods his head, actually remembering all the times that he heard All For One's voice. So that explains why I could always hear you. I thought I was just going crazy, or I was just thinking to myself that's what you would tell me to do. All For One just smiles as he waves his hand around, changing the landscape, actually appearing in front of a nice forest with a log cabin right next to the coffee table. You might be here for a while. I don't know, your body is still recovering from all the new quirks that you put into your body. Being able to absorb 4 quirks into your body at your age is unheard of. You're lucky you weren't turned into a brainless monster. Keep this in mind. Your power that I gave you is not something that you could just use whenever you feel like it. It needs to be only used when necessary. Izuku hung his head in shame. I'm sorry, Sensei. I just wanted to be able to get more powerful and maybe get a hold of some new allies. All For One just sighs as he puts his hand to his forehead. Hold your head up. You had a good idea, you just didn't handle it properly. What you should have done before going to the fight club is train a little bit more. You're still getting used to your new powers. What you have done was very risky, and if it wasn't for Overhaul choosing to help you, you probably would be dead, if I'm going to be honest with you. Izuku rubbed the back of his neck, feeling a little bit embarrassed. Well, I thought with all the power that I had, and with 2 weeks of practice, I would actually be fine. I was very wrong, though. I have to make sure to thank Overhaul whenever I see him again. All For One smiled, just remembering his youth. It's no big deal. When I was your age, I did the exact same thing. Well, maybe not to the same degree of danger, but I had my own little moments. Izuku was starting to think all about the fight club. There is still so much I need to think about, like are my friends okay, and will I actually be able to get a hold of Overhaul ever again? All For One just stood up from his chair and went over behind Izuku to place a hand on his shoulder, trying to get him to calm down. Dressing yourself Cloud is not going to help you. You already got confirmation from Endeavor that he's going to be looking into your friend's whole situation. As for Overhaul, he gave you a phone to get a hold of him, which means that he's already your ally. This is not a failure, this is an actual great success. Izuku just looks up at All for One. I guess it's just crazy. It's hard for me to imagine that any of this is success, even though I want to, but the biggest thing that I wonder is why was Mina there in the first place? All for One folded his arms as he put his right hand on his chin, thinking about it. Well, I don't know if this is really the right thing for me to tell you, but the girl was actually wearing the costume of one of my old allies. I don't know why she was using Alien Queen's name. Maybe they're related. You should talk to her about this. Izuku stood up from the chair confused, but hearing the statement actually made him feel better. Wait, so you're saying that there's a chance that she was mistaken for someone else? That's great. All for One chuckled a little bit, amused by his successor's reaction. You have potential allies all around you. You just need to know how to use them and keep them safe. That's why I want to give you this. All for One snapped his fingers and a gigantic map appeared on the coffee table. As it spread out, it showed many different locations marked. All for One grabbed a quick sip of his tea before he continued to explain anything else. I want you to pick a location on this map and I will give you the coordinates on how to get there. Do know that each location holds a special gift that I plan to give you throughout time. I feel like I need to reward you for all the hard work you've been doing and for all the suffering that you've been going through, so please pick a location and make it soon because I think you're going to be waking up. Izuku looked over the map curious since he wasn't really going off of much information on each of the places as he noticed there was one nearest to his unconscious body in a forest about 2 miles away. I'll take that one. It seems to be closest to me and that way I can go to it without being suspicious. All for One went over to look at the map, actually wanting to see what his successor picked. When he realized what it was, his eyes went wide. Well, aren't you a lucky person? That's one of my old high-ranking facilities. It should actually be offline now. Only a few things were left there, just in case we needed a fallback. There should be some old research notes from the doctor, along with a very special creature. Whatever else you find there is yours. Izuku was actually amazed to hear all this. Hey, wouldn't a place like this have a lot of heavy security? Or what if some of your old allies come back for it? I don't want to have to go there and end up fighting people for no good reason. All for One decided to go back to his seat on the other side of the coffee table. I wouldn't be worried. The place hasn't been watched over in 3 years. The cool thing about trying to keep places hidden is trying not to make it look suspicious. So if you leave a place and don't actually use it for a long time, people just think you abandoned it. So no one should be there. As for a security system, all you would have to do is put your hand up to a scanner. At the door, it will scan throughout your body for a certain quirk that you have. After that, all you have to do is walk in and take whatever you feel like. Or you could turn it into your own personal hideout. It's truly up to you. Izuku smiles, realizing that he now has a cool little secret base and can do whatever he wants with the treasures inside. That's so cool. It's like an action movie where the main character gets the secret inheritance that he didn't know he had and now becomes even cooler and stronger. All for One started to notice that Izuku was fading in and out. It looks like our time is up. Time for me to give you the information on where the location is. He then proceeds to tap Izuku on the forehead and the boy sees a flash of locations go within his mind. Until next time, I wait for us to meet again. Izuku starts to tear up. I'm sad that I have to go. I hope I get to see or hear from you soon, Sensei. Thank you for everything. All for One just smiled as he waved at Izuku. Know that I'm always with you. If you need my advice, just ask. Izuku wakes up as he sees that he's not in a hospital room or at the fight club, but in this strange room that doesn't look familiar. As he got to his feet, his body started to ache and he felt dizzy, which ended up causing him to fall right back onto his back. He then grabbed onto his head as he was trying to gather himself, but then he heard a bunch of voices from outside the room as it was open to reveal Rei, who was holding a small bucket of water with a rag in it. When she saw that he was awake, tears welled up in her eyes and she ran over and dropped the bucket on the ground, giving him a big hug. Oh, thank God you're finally awake. You've been sleeping like this for over a week. We were so worried about you. Izuku just looked at her really confused, wondering who she was. Who are you, and where am I? Rei let go of him as she got down on her knees so she could be at eye level with him. My name is Rei Todoroki. My husband brought you here after your terrible incident. We've been taking care of you ever since. Izuku was still confused, trying to piece together everything that happened to him since his memory was a little bit hazy since he woke up. Wait, who is your husband? Rei put her hand on Izuku's forehead to see if he still had a fever. Luckily, you no longer have a fever, and also to answer your question, my husband's name is Enji Todoroki, but you probably probably know him better as Endeavor. Izuku's eyes shot open, finally remembering everything that happened to him at the Fight Club and at the hospital, even being able to talk to his former predecessor. I remember now. I've done so many bad things. No wonder people see me as a villain. Ray holds on to both of Izuku's hands, giving him a very warm smile. You are not a villain. You are still young. You don't have to let those people tell you what you can be. They're just jealous of your potential. So you have to show them that you could be the best hero you can be and just prove them wrong. Izuku's eyes just welled up with tears. Thank you so much. You're so nice. I'm sorry that I had to make you worry so long. Izuku was starting to warm up to Ray as they both saw Endeavor walk into the room, with two people behind him who looked very worried as they rushed past to reveal themselves to be Shinso and Mina. They both hugged, happily seeing Izuku awake again. Endeavor just stood there with his arms crossed with a big grin on his face. I'm glad to see that you're finally awake. You gave all of us quite a scare. Izuku was overwhelmed by all the people who were worried about him. I'm sorry I made all of you worry. I guess I just overdid it. Shinso finally lets go of his friend and just stood up. That's an understatement. When Endeavor's family found us and told us about your condition, a lot of us didn't think that you were going to make it. Mina just held on to his arm tighter, not wanting to let him go. I believed that you would pull through because you made a promise to me. There's so much we still need to talk about. Ray went over to her husband and just hugged him from behind as she watched the kids talk to each other. I don't know why, but this brings back a lot of precious memories. Endeavor just looks at his wife with a very happy smile. I don't remember what it's like to be young and in love. It's because I honestly don't think I ever lost that feeling with you by my side. Everyone was just so happy to see that Izuku was okay as they allowed themselves to catch their breath. Endeavor finally feeling like it's time for him to ask Izuku the very serious question about what he should be doing from now on, but didn't really want to ruin this happy moment. Endeavor does a light little cough trying to get everyone to look at him. Izuku, I know this is sudden and everything, but since you don't have anywhere else to go, Ray and I have been talking over the week and we thought that it would be a great idea if we adopted you and allowed you to stay here with our family. Izuku got excited, but then hesitated, thinking about what his actual father could do to Endeavor's reputation having him around. I don't know, it's kind of dangerous. I don't want to drag your family into my issues. It was nice of you to take care of me all this time, but I don't think that I could drag you down into this. You're all such nice people. Endeavor was actually surprised by this response. Can you tell me why you don't feel like it's safe for us to be around you? Izuku grabbed onto his arm, debating like he didn't want to tell anybody about this. I'm afraid my actual father will try to drag your reputation through the mud, Endeavor, and I will cause your entire family to deal with issues. It's not fair for people like you to have to go through something like that because of me. Endeavor looked at Izuku with anger in his eyes. How dare you? Do you really think that we're that shallow to be afraid of your father? If he came here right now, I'd throw him out right on his face. I don't want a child like you running around afraid for his own life just because a man's ideas is trying to put your potential down on the world. If you ask my opinion, you have the potential to become the next #1 hero. But if you allow fear to cloud your judgment, it will cause you nothing but pain and regret. Izuku stood up ready to defend himself. I know that, trust me, I've been dealing with it for a while now, but I actually have people I care about. I'm not alone and I know that. I don't want all of you to be shackled to me and brought down into my dark that feels like it wants to consume my entire life. Both Izuku and Endeavor both stared into each other's eyes, realizing that they had the same type of issues lying within their own fear of what they could become, both not able to truly understand how to put it into words for each other to understand. Ray finally stepped in and grabbed both of their heads and pounded them together, making them fall onto their back in pain. Both of you are so similar, it's actually scary. Listen, I know you're afraid and going through a lot right now, but do not run away from us or those who are trying to care and love for you. Please, let us reach out and remove the shackles that you feel are placed upon you. Shinso helps his friend up. She's right, I'm here for you too. I know that we've only known each other for a short time, but I feel like we're both brothers that were dealt bad hands. But we also have to realize that we were given a gift, and it's up to us to decide what we want to do with it. We're not bad guys, we're just misunderstood. Mina goes down on the floor and grabs onto Izuku. You have a gift, and we are all here to help you with it if you want us to. We also want to help you feel human again instead of feeling like the demon that those people made you feel like. You're a good person, you just have to believe in that. She had tears in her eyes, squeezing onto his arm even tighter, making sure that he wouldn't get out of her grip. I thought I lost you a week ago, and you've been protecting me ever since I met you. It's my turn to finally help you and heal you, so please let all of us Izuku listened to all the words, not knowing what to still feeling such a dark and heavy burden on his shoulders, as he could still truly hear the sound of his father echoing in his head, saying, "Die, villain." His eyes started to glaze over as he started to fade in and out of consciousness. His mind was breaking apart, torn between the two decisions. But before he could go any further, he was flicked on his forehead by Endeavor, snapping him out of his mind. "Listen, I'm not going to stand here and act like I know exactly what's going through your mind right now. I didn't have a father like yours who was willing to kill me on the spot, or was so strict I didn't know what it was like to fear death at such a young age. But I do know one thing. Times like this, you truly cannot be alone, because that is when you truly have died. Even if you still walk among the living, a life full of loneliness is just a shell of a man." Izuku takes these words and just lets them finally reach him, realizing that he doesn't have to be alone anymore. "So you all truly agree no matter what comes our way, you will stand by me and won't abandon me, so I won't have to know what it's like to be alone ever again." Rei, with a big smile on her face with tears running down her cheeks, "I do promise to stand by you no matter what." Shinso had a big grin on his face, giving a signature thumbs up. "You couldn't get rid of me even if you tried." Mina finally letting the tears run down her face as she gave Izuku a full body hug. "I promise that I will always stand by you." Endeavor chuckled a little bit, amused by watching all this. "I plan to help make you into the world's greatest hero, so I can't go anywhere. As soon as you're fully healed, we're going to start your training." Izuku finally got his arm released from his friends as he wiped his eyes, as he got the biggest smile, feeling like all the weight on his shoulders was finally taken off. "And please, with all this, I would love to be a part of your family." As he got done saying that, the door to the bedroom finally swung open, revealing 4 people falling onto their faces, seeming like they were eavesdropping on the entire conversation. Everyone turned to look at them, revealing them to be Toya, Fumi, Natsu, and Shoto. They all looked up, staring at them, kind of a little embarrassed that they were found out as they were slowly getting up. Toya was the first to get up as he rubbed the back of his neck. "Sorry, didn't mean to eavesdrop, but I found these 3 by the door, so I got curious." Fumi got annoyed and punched Toya in the side playfully. "That's not how I remember it. I found you and Shoto waiting behind the door for the perfect moment to come in and make an epic entrance to make yourselves look cool." Natsu ran behind Toya trying to hide. "This is so bad. I feel like this is the worst first impression." Shoto got up and onto his feet and walked over to Izuku as they both got to eye level with each other. It looked like they were talking about 1,000 things, even though there wasn't a single word uttered between the two. "Do you still feel pain?" Izuku just smiled back at him. "I do still feel pain, but if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have met any of you, and for that I am thankful. But there is one thing I must ask. Who are all of you?" Endeavor chimes in. "These are your new siblings. I hope you can get along with them. And we'll be having a discussion about how bad it is to eavesdrop and lie later," as he turns his head to look at his oldest children with a glare. Izuku was starting to get a little bit nervous with all these people around him. "If you don't mind, I actually need to talk to Mina in private, so could you give us some alone time? I would appreciate it." Fumi started to blush like crazy thinking about that. "Well, aren't you shameless? So young yet so playful." Izuku got very confused by that. "I guess I just don't understand what you mean by that." Mina started blushing thinking about being alone in the room with him. "I don't know if my heart is ready for whatever it is you're going to tell me." Rei looked into Izuku's eyes, realizing that he was being serious and that this wasn't some kind of joking situation. "Alright everyone, let's go. Let's give these 2 some privacy so they can talk." Rei was able to get everybody out of the room and away from the door so nobody could eavesdrop on what they were going to talk about. She was curious herself, but she continued to walk away with everyone else. As both Izuku and Mina were both standing there in the room alone, Mina's face was completely red with 1,000 different thoughts going through her mind at once. "So, what did you want to talk about, Izuku?" Izuku just put both of his hands together, letting out a very deep breath as he said what was on his mind. "Is your mother a retired supervillain?" Mina had a shocked look on her face, not expecting that was what he wanted to talk about, as she started to think about what she should actually tell him. "Well, I guess since you've done so much for me, I could tell you, yes, my mother is a former villain known as Alien Queen, but I've only found out about this recently." Izuku just smiled as he hugged her tightly. "Oh, thank God, I was so worried. I thought this was actually going to be turning into something really serious," as he let her go quickly. "So can you explain how you ended up at the Fight Club last week?" Mina actually gets embarrassed as she starts scratching the back of her head. "Well, you you see, all the stuff that I told you back there was actually kind of a lie because of the people at the Fight Club mistaken me for my mother and thought that I was the original alien queen. That's kind of how I got stuck into the tournament because my mother was noticed as one of the greatest fighters there that always would win. Izuku starts thinking about the entire situation that she was in, but was confused about one thing. We actually need to back up your story a little bit more. Why were you even in your mother's old costume to begin with? Mina started to look even more embarrassed, not really wanting to explain that, but she knows that she's going to have to. Well, I was actually going to one of my friend's costume party that night, and I really didn't have anything else at the time, and I also didn't know what it represented. If I would have known that it was my mom's old villain costume, I would have never wore it. Unfortunately for me at that time, when I was walking down the street wearing the costume, I went right past the Fight Club and they actually ushered me inside thinking that that's where I was going. When I found out what was happening, I didn't want to make it seem like I was just in some kind of fake costume, so I played the part not wanting to get hurt. Izuku just started laughing a little bit. So the whole reason that you were there to begin with was just the wrong place, wrong time situation? Mina just gave him a quick playful jab in his side as she started to laugh along with him. Yeah, basically, I know it sounds funny and stupid, but it's the truth. Izuku started to stretch a little bit as he finally felt fully relieved with all the tension and stress leaving him. Alright, now that I have all that figured out, now I can gather the rest of you and tell you where we're going to be going soon. Mina looked at him curious, wondering what he was talking about. Where are you going to be taking us? Izuku just smiled with a big grin on his face. To one of my old predecessor's research labs. But that's where I'm going to leave it off this time, guys. If you want to see more, make sure to hit that like button, leave a comment down below, and I still want to hear more ideas about quirks. And make sure to go visit my guys' other videos on the channel because they really do a lot of hard work and then they would appreciate your support. But with all that said, guys, I'm out. Peace.